7Hertz has been releasing an onslaught of products of late, the first of which is the Artemis 39, which is a Bluetooth dongle DAC amp thingy, and then later the Arrow, which is an entry-level offering, and now we have the 5, which is probably the most exciting one of the lot. So the most interesting bit of the unboxing is the new included case. I've not seen a silicone case provided by an IEM manufacturer for a while now. The case here is very functional and is adequately big enough for you to include the 5 even with a rope of a cable. Build quality. Ever since the Aurora, 7Hertz has been adopting a house look to their IEMs with a 3D printed chassis that is paired with an interesting faceplate. The one on the 5 features a clear blue chassis, and this allows you to see, which is a sort of part-time hobby of mine. The chassis has a nice glossy finish, and the best part of it is that it looks really nice as well. Hand feel of the 5 is solid despite it being made of resin as well. The faceplate is quite fascinating. Diamond patterns that has different shades encased within each one. The way it catches light and how it shimmers is different from each angle, creating visual interest. I also need to point out that the female 2-pin socket that 7Hertz use is quite different from other brands. If you notice, they are always angled towards your ear. This is a nice human touch as it ensures that the cables stay tucked behind your ears with less chance of them slipping off. Cable provided is a silver-plated oxygen-free copper cable. In Singapore, we have a type of flat rice noodle that we call kway teow, and this cable heavily resembles that. Cable on my unit is terminated to a 3.5mm. There is also an option for a 4.4mm one as well. Oh yes, many have been asking about the barrel ear tips. They are making an appearance here as well with the 5. It is my preferred ear tips when listening to the 5s, as for me they just fit better. The interesting thing about the 5s is that there are 5 dynamic drivers here that is installed in the chassis. These are all 6mm custom drivers that is specially made for the 5. Interestingly, they have their own individual acoustic chamber to tweak the characteristics of each driver. The implementation of 5 dynamic drivers is quite interesting, and I will discuss more of this when we talk about sound. Firstly, I need to put it out there that the 5 sounds a lot better after at least 24 hours of burn-in. This is a pair that changes quite a bit, so if you have a unit, please just cycle them with music for a day before they will eventually settle down and sound fantastic. I've graphed it as you are seeing here, and fine, I've updated my compendium of graphs, so do check that out in my link below as well. So one thing that the graph evangelists will question would be the various peaks as seen on the 5. In reality, I don't find the 5 to render these peaks, so it's really a non-issue. The 5 is another earphone that turns away from the meta of 2023 by having scooped out mid-bass. It features a more prominent mid-bass section that allows you to hear a fuller tonal weight as well as some mid-bass goodness. Also, what is cool about it is that it is tuned quite differently from other popular recent releases such as the Simgot Supermix 4, which is a little dark sounding. The 5 here has more upper mid energy to balance things out. Bass. The 5 does bass quite differently and is certainly pretty refreshing. It has a very full sub-bass and mid-bass section and only tapers off quite late. Bass here is resonant and full sounding, certainly plenty in quantity with a nice punch. It reminds me of my younger, fitter and more handsome days where I would just hit the clubs in the weekends. It has that sort of club bass resonance. I won't say that it's the same quantity as that of the clubs, but it's certainly in that vein and it's really fun. So I did listen to David Guetta's Titanium. There is this Lasso remix on Apple Music, do check that out. And boy, did they not disappoint. The 5 turned back the clock to remind me of my younger days. They are more bass forward, but I won't say that they are bass head IEMs, just a pair that has really enjoyable bass. Dynamics are also pretty good as well. Transient here is above average, but with this sort of signature that it has, I already expected that. Mid-range, tonal weight of the 5s are natural warm. I found them to be balanced pretty nicely. They do take influence from the more prominent mid-bass, but not to be completely dulled over. The 5s have a prominent upper mids response as well, which balances out the overall tone. Mid-range has a nice clarity to them, although not bitingly clear, but it still fits the overall sound design. Vocals has a velvety character to them with kisses of warmth. Resolution here is above average as well. Female and male vocals are lush with good weight. Separation in the mid-range is pretty distinct as well, as you can easily experience the different layers of music. This is quite a feat, as when it comes to slightly heavier mid-bass tracks, such aspects become a little buried in the sound, but I found that the fives did quite good work. Treble. Treble is a delectable blend of energy and smoothness. They differ from sets such as the Supermix 4 and the Meze Alba by having a bit more energy and extension. I think it was wise for them to do this, as it adds more definition to the overall tone by comparison. I found the fives to be airy, and this creates good texture on other frequency bands. On the whole, it allows for the fives to have a little more clarity to balance out the warmth afforded by the mid-bass. Treble is well defined and realistic with good extension. Talking about soundstage, when it comes to width and height, the 5 does width and height well, and I would say that these are above average. They do remind me very much of how a dance club sounds. As I was using the 5s, I found that depth was again above average. Positioning is good, especially with the help of a well-designed treble section. Next up, some comparisons. Firstly, versus the Meze Alba. Now, the Meze Alba was recently released in a similar price point as well, but I found that the 7Hz 5s exceed the Alba in terms of build quality for me. My unit of the Alba had a pain chipping issue, and I wasn't particularly pleased about that. When it comes to sound, I found that the Alba was perhaps a little too safe. It was certainly pleasant and mass-pleasing, but I always wish for them to have a bit more resolution. The good thing about the Alba is that it comes in a complete package, as it includes a Type-C dongle thingamajig, so you can immediately use it with your phone. The 7Hz 5 on the other hand is a whole lot of fun with the club-like bass response that is balanced with the treble, giving it very nice bass rumble and definition. I found the 5s to be higher resolution by comparison, but I would also urge you to get a decent dongle to power the 5s. Next up, versus the Simgot Supermix 4. Now, the Simgot Supermix 4 is Simgot's latest offering in this price range. It differs from their 2023 tuning of having prominent upper mids by having a darker, fuller sounding IEM. I found the Supermix 4 to be very smooth sounding with good levels of resolution. It is again pretty easy to like. What is nice about the Supermix 4 is that it sets itself apart by having a darker tuning in 2024, which is really quite rare as everybody is doing that elevated mid-range section thingamajig. Tonal weight here is warm as well. Resolution wise, I found them to be very similar to the 5, but not rendered in a way where it is as obvious as the 5s. Now, the 5s here isn't as dark sounding as the Supermix 4 and has certainly more energy by comparison. It does not sound as warm as the Supermix 4 and has more perceived treble response by comparison. Resolution between the two are similar, but the 5s allow them to be heard more obviously. And next, against the NF Audio NA2+. The NF Audio NA2+ is very different from the 5, and the only thing common about them is that they share a similar price point. If you're looking for a earphone that has resolution and is technically really good, there is no running away from the fact that the NA2+ is superior when it comes to these two aspects. However, the NA2+ features a natural bright signature that is a little bit too serious. The 5s here are certainly more fun sounding, although it cannot best the technicalities of the NA2+, sometimes it's all about having fun. Next up, what I like and what I don't like about the 7Hz 5s. What is great about the 5s is that it is a rather full-sounding V-shaped IEM that has a fun mid-bass section that really allows me to turn back the clock to relieve those days where I spent puking in the clubs. I wasn't much of a drinker, I admit. Also, the case provided here is one of those that is more functionable, so it's really easy to put your earphones in. So now, here are some things that I do not like about the 5s. For me, the 5s really needed the burn-in. I do that with all my earphones, so it's not too much of a problem, but for those of you who are contemplating getting these, do allow them at least 24 hours of burn-in for them to be a bit more optimized. Ratings. Is this a blind buy? Seriously consider, try first, or one that you should give your enemies? So with my caveats about burning them in, at $150, the 5s are a whole lot of fun to listen to. They do offer you a breath of fresh air in a market with scoop-out mid-bass. This is one earphone that is very competitive and different, so it's as such, I would say that these are certainly blind buy safe. It is very fun sounding and I enjoyed my time immensely with them. And conclusion, these have been a fun one. I was very surprised by the difference a day of running in makes. The 5s are a delight to listen to and it's a whole lot of fun. It really brings back memories of me just lying down outside Zouk in Singapore, half dead, being really drunk. I know my folks sometimes watches my videos, but this is one part where I don't want them to find out. With that said, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Superchong Super Audio Show. If you like the content so far, please kindly press the like and subscribe right here down below. It will help me out immensely. And if you have already done so, you are an amazing person. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope to see you guys soon.